There's a strange truth about warfare that rarely appears in documentaries. Some of the most important tools soldiers carried were not in their hands on their belts or in their packs, but hidden inside their boots. And while most people picture boots as nothing more than rugged footwear, and even earlier, militaries quietly experimented with concealed devices, small enough to fit underfoot, yet powerful enough to change a soldier's fate. Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious of these inventions, the secret device soldiers hid inside their boots. To understand why such a device existed at all, we first need to appreciate the mindset of Cold War intelligence agencies. This was a time when paranoia wasn't a flow, it was strategy. Both NATO and Warsaw Pact forces believed that the next war, if it ever began, would depend on who could move agents silently, gather intelligence invisibly, and disappear without leaving a trace. Every object a soldier carried was scrutinized for its hidden potential. A pen wasn't just a pen maybe, it was a transmitter. A button wasn't just a button maybe, it concealed a microdot and boots. Boots represented something else entirely, a space no one ever questioned, yet every soldier needed. The device itself began as a simple idea during World War II, when Allied escape technicians realized that downed pilots often lost their survival kits. So engineers designed a tiny steel compartment to fit inside the hollow heel of a boot. At first, this secret heel compartment contained things like miniature saws, compasses, or razor blade stools meant to help pilots cut through barriers and find their way home. But by the 1950s, the idea evolved. Intelligence agencies realized that boots were one of the last places an enemy would ever think to search. That gave birth to something far more advanced, the boot-hidden signal device. This wasn't just a compass or a saw. It was a microtransmitter, one of the smallest tracking and signaling tools ever made at the time. The idea was simple but brilliant. If a soldier was captured, isolated, or stranded behind enemy lines, they could activate the device using pressure from their heel. No visible movement, no reaching into a pocket, no suspicious gestures. A simple shift of weight could send a coded distressed pulse to listening stations miles away. In training, operators practiced moving their foot just enough to trigger the signal without alerting anyone standing nearby. But why hide it in a boot and not somewhere else? Because the boot provided natural insulation. Transmitting signals in the Cold War was dangerous direction finding. Teams could locate an operator in minutes, but a boot was already padded, layered, and shielded. Engineers exploited this. The device sat inside a custom heel cavity lined with steel and rubber, which scattered signal leakage and made it look like background noise. Only when the heel pressed down on a thin copper switch did the transmitter briefly activate, sending a burst of encrypted information before going silent again. The soldiers who carried this device weren't ordinary infantry. They were pathfinders, reconnaissance operators, deep penetration scouts, pilots flying near enemy airspace, and intelligence agents moving under civilian cover. For them, the device wasn't a gadget, it was insurance. They were trained to walk naturally, knowing that one wrong step could activate the transmitter. Their gait became part of the discipline, smooth, controlled, intentional. Footwork, in a way, became a classified skill. There was another purpose, one that wasn't openly acknowledged. The same device could be used not just to call for rescue, but to track movement. If a soldier defected, disappeared, or was suspected of switching sides, intelligence officers could quietly follow the signal without the soldier ever knowing the device was active. The line between protection and surveillance blurred, and for some, that was deeply unsettling. Stories from declassified archives mention several cases where the boot device saved lives. One involved a reconnaissance pilot who crash-landed in hostile territory, injured and unable to reach his radio. He dragged himself under cover and shifted his weight repeatedly on his boot heel. Hours later, a rescue team homed in on the brief pulses and extracted him. Another account describes a special forces operator whose team was ambushed. With no way to speak or signal without giving away his position, he rolled onto his heel while lying flat and triggered the distress code. Reinforcements arrived before the enemy could sweep the hillside. But not every story was heroic. A few reports suggest that the device sometimes betrayed the very people it was meant to protect. If mud clogged the pressure switch, or if the heel was damaged, the transmitter could malfunction. In at least one instance, a soldier unknowingly broadcast his position during a covert observation mission. Whether that led to casualties is still classified. By the 1970s, technology improved. Satellites, compact radios, and encrypted beacons replaced the boot-hidden transmitters. The original devices were quietly removed from service, and many soldiers who wore them never knew they were part of an experiment. Some boots with sealed heels were even sold as surplus, the hidden cavities still inside, empty, silent, forgotten. What makes this device so fascinating is not just its engineering or secrecy, but what it represented. The idea that survival often depended on the smallest possible advantage. In a world where intelligence could tilt the balance of global power, even a soldier's footwear could become a weapon or a lifeline. And it's a reminder that real history isn't always shaped by the loudest machines or the biggest bombs. Sometimes it's shaped by something hidden, quiet, and activated with nothing more than a single step. Today, the idea of hiding tools in boots hasn't disappeared entirely. Modern militaries still experiment with integrated electronics, pressure sensors, and emergency beacons. Some prototypes even monitor pulse, body heat, and movement, turning boots into wearable survival computers. But none of these modern devices carry the same aura of mystery as the one that started it all. The secret transmitter hidden in the heel, silently waiting for the moment it was needed. In the end, this device stands as a symbol of an era where innovation happened in shadows, where every inch of gear mattered, and where the difference between life and death could fit inside a heel smaller than a matchbox. And now that its story is finally emerging from classified archives, we're left with one question. How many other everyday objects still hide secrets from the Cold War secrets we haven't uncovered yet?